And then one morning I woke up and I was just eating breakfast. Nothing major was going on. There was no client issue. There was no tangible stress element that I could point to. And I started to feel like something was overcoming me, and I couldn't. I was eating breakfast, and I stopped mid sentence, and I'm looking at my wife, and she's looking at me, and she's like, "You okay?" And it almost feels like an acid reflux thing, but not acidic, and just like my chest is starting to cave. I thought I was having a heart attack, and it lasted for about a minute, and it stopped. I was freaked out. I didn't know what that was. And then it came again, and it came in waves every 5, 10 minutes for the next hour and a half. And I was scared. Um, I went to the doctor. I had ECGs or EKGs, they call them here. I had a stress test monitor attached to see whether, again, I had any irregular heart issues. And nothing came up. And doctor told me then, you're having panic attacks. And I was like, there's no way I'm having panic attacks. There's no way because I'm in control. I live in New York City. I'd moved from San Francisco at this point. I'm not struggling, I'm not wondering where my next paycheck's going to come from. I'm not concerned for the team. The business is stable. My wife is working. She's happy. How could I be having panic attacks? And I didn't want to believe it, and so I didn't do anything about it other than just learned to accept that this was going to happen to me. And so
Mm.
for 4 months solid, I would have at least for an hour a day. And usually it sat into an hour. So every 5 minutes over an hour period. And I couldn't figure out what would trigger it. I would be in the middle of a meeting, for example, and I would just go quiet, maybe put my hands to my face, because I'd learned how to not react when it was happening and understand that this is going to go away in like 30 seconds, a minute, and then just get on with it. And so people didn't even know I was having panic attacks right in front of them. And then there was a tipping point with that where the panic attacks started to come while I was sleeping. So I would get them during the night. And that was not that was a scary moment the first time it happened, because then again you could think back to this is a potential heart attack that's coming along. Uh, I already had a restlessness in my legs, but it started to feel like I was getting a buzzing under my skin, which just all I could describe it was it just felt like I could feel my blood flowing throughout my body, and that would get more and more intense as the weeks went by, to a point where I couldn't listen to music that had words in it because I could feel basically everything that was happening. I remember sitting in a Starbucks here in New York, and I had headphones on, the noise canceling headphones over the ear, nothing playing, just on to try and block out the noise as much as possible. And I was looking at people walking, and I could feel the footsteps. I was, and I was just, I had lost control completely of um, my physical, well, everything. And then my mind was going with that as well. My mind was going into places like I, I can't deal with this, and I don't want to deal with this, and I don't want my life to be like this. But I still was denying the fact that it was panic or stress, or that I'd gone so far into an emotional overdraft that I'd lost control of myself.
Mm.
I went to London, and I think the biggest moment for me in that period of time was I was walking through Hatton Gardens. I was in between meetings, and it was a beautiful morning, and I just come from meeting an old colleague of mine, and I stood at a set of traffic lights at the corner of Charing Cross and Hatton, and I started to feel a panic attack coming on. And I looked to the side, and I saw this double-decker bus at the traffic lights. And just as I turned my head back, all of a sudden everything just went um, I blacked out, but I managed to turn myself away from the road. I was lucky I didn't kind of fall into the road. I fell into a wall. Nobody came over, by the way. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. This guy's falling at the side of the road. Nobody came near me. Maybe they looked at the beard and they thought, this guy's homeless. Um, but it was a scary moment because it was now the first time that the panic attacks had taken on a different form. And that form was now you're blacking out. Ultimately, when I got back to the States, my drinking was the only thing that was stopping me from feeling the panic attacks during the night. So then my drinking habits got to a point of I was almost self-medicating myself with alcohol. And so then I was starting to drink to a point of like I would work to the day and I would get to whatever time it was, 4:35, and I would open a bottle of wine and I would pour it my Mac laptop, aired wine, gave a thumbs up. Um, I would be through a bottle of wine by 6:30, which again is still early in the evening, and you just open a second bottle of wine, and then you just all of a sudden you realize that you're not going to sleep naturally. You're drinking to the point of blacking out, and then trying to operate normally the next day, but with the same panic attack situation and the same self-medication with alcohol.